What's up, losers and goobers and fellow freaks? Greetings and salutations. I'm back with another video. The Basement Dwellers ride again. We are talking about games today, but it's going to be video games for the most part. But I implore, even if that's not your thing, stick around. A lot of people complain about getting back into retro gaming. I posted some stuff online in one of my groups talking about how I modded my Game Boy Color. Which probably this is not the original one I had when I was a kid. In fact, there's nothing in my collection here that is from when I was a kid. Okay, but I had these when I was a kid. It's just that mom and dad either sold them or they got lost or my sister took them when she moved to Oregon or whatever. And so I've slowly accumulated my collection back up. So posting things like, okay, so and this is a collection of I didn't buy all these at once. Like this came about from over the years. I have a working Nintendo 64 and Game Boy Color and SNES, and I'm going to work on getting a working NES again. I had an emulator console, but I'm not a huge fan of it. I just want an actual NES again, Nintendo Entertainment System. But I have things like this, red and gold, man. I was born in 1989. I was born at the right time for Pokemania in America. It is insane. All my homies know Gen 1 and 2. You stuck a big fat Snorlax or a very fast Tauros at the front of your line and you just set them up with Hyper Beam and you just let the kill count roll until you ran out of power points. And even then, you would try to go through the game and try to find things to increase the power points. And then of course, talk about, I need to get me a CRTV. I've got an HDMI converter for analog signals, but I want to get a CRTV so that I can use a light gun again for Duck Hunt. I remember playing Duck Hunt a lot. But that being said, I have Mario Brothers, Super Mario Brothers. The original. I need to find Mario 3. Mario 3 was my favorite NES Mario. It's a lot of people's favorite NES Mario. Then, of course, the original Legend of Zelda. This is definitely one of those. Man, I implore people, if you've not played it at least once, play it at least once. I'm not going to tell you, pardon me, you have to do the Master Quest, but the Master Quest added replayability. I used to have a hand-drawn map of everything I went through. I have a copy of Wizardry Heart of the Maelstrom for the SNES somewhere in here, and I can't find it. Eventually, I know I'll find it. And I had, for the NES, for Nintendo, I have Advanced Dungeons & Dragons Pool of Radiance. And I don't know where that is right now either. Because I need to find both of those, because it's time to clean them with some rubbing alcohol and a Q-tip. That's the cool thing about these things. It's like they don't work right. You just take a Q-tip and some rubbing alcohol and they will work. Dad taught me how to read with this game. Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. I was 4 years old and Dad taught me how to read on this. Because me and him always played Zelda together when I was a kid. And when we got a Super Nintendo, of course, that came with it. We never had Zelda 2. We had Zelda 1 and we had this. And this had more of a narrative behind it than the first one did. And I remember pretty advanced vocabulary for a game, especially around that time. Words like augment and stuff like that. Pretty advanced, so Dad taught me how to read off of that. So I have a soft spot. Will always have a soft spot for this game. And then, of course, one of my favorite JRPGs, from the SNES, especially from the SNES, but of all time, is Chrono Trigger. Man, what a fun game! Oh man, what a fun game! Is it complex? It has complexity to it, but once you realize how the system works, it's one of the easiest games you get into. That being said, it's so replayable. Had 13 endings. Now, granted, a lot of those endings, we're kind of stretching that definition of ending a little bit, but of course, the Nintendo 64. One of my favorite consoles of all time. The jump to 3D. I was around for that. So of course you can't talk about. I picked out what I felt like was the 4 best games, at least for single player, for the Nintendo 64, that you can't talk about it without talking about these. Super Mario's first foray into the third dimension, Mario 64. I'm actually replaying this right now in my free time. Very fun, super fun. One of the first collectathon Marios. Just, like, hey, here's this third dimension. Let's see how Mario does it. And honestly, while it can be glitchy and a little buggy, did exceptionally well. Star Fox 64, Star Fox for the Super Nintendo was a great game, but it had a lot to be desired. 64, man alive, it added so much. And I tell you what, my favorite parts of the game is like the dogfights you'll have with Star Wolf Squadron. Like, it's so fun. You have Star Wolf. You have, shoot the pig, what's his name? He's supposed to be Pepe's counterpart. He's the one that betrays James McLeod and Pepe to Andros. I can't remember his name. You have Andrew, which is Andros' nephew. And then you have the lizard. It's supposed to be Slippy Toad's counterpart, and I can't remember his name. Leon, because he's like, I'm the great Leon during one of the battles. I remember now. Cannot remember the pig's name. I'll think of it later. Anyways, Star Wolf 64, excellent. Excellent rail shooter. Very great. Then, of course, we talked about, like, Zelda series is always going to be near and dear to my heart. Of course, Ocarina of Time, very influential. It started a lot of the tropes that you see with the series today, for better or worse. But at the time, it was cutting edge, and it was brand new, and it worked for it. So it was good. I love it. It's one of my favorite games of all time. But the next Zelda game, of course, there was only 2, so you know what I'm going to be talking about. Probably my favorite out of the entire series, because of how weird and strange it is. It's short, but it focused more on side stuff, like helping townspeople with their issues and their problems. And, like, there's some pretty deep themes for a Nintendo game, because you have this impending doom of the moon falling to the earth in 3 days, and you're trying to get everybody squared away, make sure that, like, they're at least they're happy with their lives, at least, if something bad's going to happen. But of course, Majora's Mask, Lord, I can't tell you how many hours I've sunk into this. Anyway, I have a lot of these memories. You've probably seen the title of the video. We've kept the wrong people. Well, not we. The hobby got took over, just like a lot of hobbies do. The retro gaming hobby got took over by the wrong kind of people. People who had a butt ton of money. Celebrities and influencers and people who were into multi-level math, pyramid schemes, and stuff, and they jack the prices up on everything, because when they do that and they make the collector's market skyrocket, it makes the used game market skyrocket as well, because the demand goes through the roof. And then, of course, right now we have the whole thing with the PlayStation 5 and, like, doing away with discs and this, that, and the other. So now physical media is in higher demand than it ever has been, and people are wondering how in the world they're going to, it's a costly endeavor. And this is something that I started on this collection. And by the way, I play these. These are not gathering dust. I play these. So when I'm using collection, I mean the games I've accumulated, not games that I've just, this is going to be sitting on a shelf and nothing else because it's going to be worth millions of dollars one day. That's dumb. That's a dumb mindset to me. That's a brain dead mindset to me. And I don't care. I don't care if that makes you mad or not. You don't get collecting. Of course I don't. I find it useless and I find it idiotic. I find it a waste of time and a waste of money and a waste of resources. Your money burned, sure, but I could still think it's stupid. But anyways, So I'm just saying, and it gets down to my point. So I was watching this video by Carl Jobst the other day, or Jobst, however you say it. And I understand the whole thing with the Billy Mitchell situation and all that. And this is not about that, so think what you will. But he had an excellent video when it came to the collector's market and how it's making how it made the retro gaming market prices as a result skyrocket because of all the demand, and now the bubble is popping and these people are getting what they deserve because they actually are losing money now that the market is trying to equal out because they've jacked the prices up so much. Nobody wants to pay that much because the market should be determined by demand and what people are willing to pay for something, not because of what somebody who already had a ton of money to burn. Well, they determine what the market should be. So in this video, there's this woman, and I don't know if she got a hold of the bank account or if she has a business or what. I don't know nothing about her, but I mean, if she's a business owner, I feel sorry for the business because she's going to tank it. So I'm hoping she's somebody who just got a hold of the bank account because that's at least a fixable issue. If it's a business owner, it's not a fixable issue. She's going to destroy her business if she has one. But she had bought a day one first edition Legend of Zelda steel in box with manual, and I understand that determines price as well. But I'm sorry, paying like a stupid amount for a piece of cardboard and a manual booklet is dumb. I think that's stupid to pay the price that I'm about to tell you. I think it's a dumb price. I think it's a stupid price. Personally, I think anything past $300 or $400 is stupid. Because who wants to afford that? But anyway, like who wants to burn money like that? You know what I mean? Especially on something you're not going to use. But she paid $600,000. And she, during this whole interview she has with this dude that she's having this Skype meeting or Zoom meeting or whatever it is with, she's talking about how, like, based off her estimates and the estimates of the experts she's talked to and the estimates of the marketers and this, that, and whatever and all that, she estimates within 2 to 3 years the game was going to be worth $1 million. Through all of her ramblings of all this stuff and all the numbers she threw out, she never once talks about the game. She never once talks about any memories she has with the game. She never really ever talks about why she even bought the game. I think she bought it because she knew Zelda was a popular franchise and she was looking to, like, this is why the price of retro gaming has gone up, because people have turned this into a get-rich-quick scheme, and it's not a get-rich-quick scheme, and I'm about to explain to you why. Well, 2 or 3 years or whatever go by, you know what that game costs? Same condition, same grade, and all that? $200,000. More than half of what she paid for wasted. She lost $400,000. $400,000. There are children starving in Ethiopia, you know? I mean, I'm sorry, but, you know, I'm tired of being preached at by people who, like, I'm working and I'm providing for my family and I'm paying the bills, and I like to recreationally spend my money occasionally, but I'm tired of being preached at by people who make more than me, who burn their money like that, because that's not a drop in the bucket, you know. That's why I don't listen to people, especially when it comes to celebrities and whatnot, and people who want to redistribute. Well, no, I work for my paycheck. I'm sorry, you should work for yours. I'm not giving you part of mine. That's dumb. But anyways, the market should be determined by demand, not by what these crazy idiots set the price at. Retro gaming is already a niche hobby, because within video games, when you're talking about video games in specific, the more popular in demand is the current thing. PS5, whatever the new Xbox is called, because they go back and forth on names on that, and I don't keep up with any of that hardly anymore. And whatever games come out from that. And I'm familiar with the fact that now they're doing away with physical media, they're doing away with discs, it's going to be digital. Pardon me again. So the demand has never been higher So within video gaming, this is a very niche thing. Like only people my age and older are going to appreciate this. Maybe a few years younger, like especially if they were a kid that grew up during Pokemania. You know, like they'll see something like this and like a red, a red, a Pokemon red, and then they see the gold and they're like, sweet, you know. And that, I mean, yeah, sweet, it's nice. Like this is like I picked these up. My my best bet to you, okay, because I want to with all this doom and gloom that I brought to you, if you're somebody that's interested in it, because I brought up the fact that I need a CRTV, but I at least have an HDMI converter for the analog. Like it looks like garbage on my HD TV screen, except for 1080p, and it's helped a little bit for the looks, and it sounds good. It sounds like they're supposed to. That being said, you know, I need to get me a tube TV. You know, one of these days. It's just not high up on my list. Look, when you have the money, if you have the money to pay for this or a CRTV, you're going to get this because you can get a CRTV as of right now. You can get a reproduction one, no problem. You know, or go to a pawn shop. So that's what I'm going to tell you. So the thing is, I'm blessed in that I live in an area. We have a store nearby called the Game King, and they do deal with modern day games as well, like Switches and PlayStation 5s and Xboxes and whatnot. But they also deal with retro games all the way from like the Atari all the way up to like you know PlayStation 2 and 3 and this, that, and everything. Although the PlayStation 3 and stuff like that is a little bit more, and 360s are a little bit more harder to come by over there. But like generally speaking, the older, the more common you're going to see it, the more likely you're going to see it in their shop. So you know they decent prices. You know, like you go on the shelf and you can find this was $75. Okay, 75. This was about bought this in 2014. I think it was like 33 on the shelf. This was about 44-ish. This is dirt cheap. You can find it. You can literally find like this for $5. But nowadays, like even something like this will cost you like $150. This was not the price I paid for it. If you look online. So my suggestion to you is if you absolutely have to have the physical media, if you live in an area that has a retro game store, hopefully they have decent prices. You can also check out if there are local gaming conventions that are put together by like local comic book shops or something. Go check those out. I found some of these at conventions before as well. A local convention that occasionally comes by a couple times out of the year. So we'll go check it out. So it can never look to hurt and go look. Because if you find something for a steal, you find something for a steal. If you live in an area that also does flea markets, check that out. Of course, garage sales, yard sales, you might get lucky. That being said, the more time goes on and the older these things get, the less likely you're going to see them in a yard sale. You know what I mean? Now, what you can expect to pay for a console, it depends. You should definitely expect for a Nintendo Entertainment System and for a SNES, you should expect somewhere between $100 to $150 just for the system, with some controllers sometimes included. Luckily, reproduction controllers are easier to get a hold of, and I highly suggest going that route rather than paying for the original ones. Because, like, look, as long as you have the console, there you go. If you get a Nintendo 64, the chances of you getting a hold of an expansion pack for playing something like Majora's Mask or Donkey Kong 64, pretty slim that they're going to have one. So I had to go online and I had to order an expansion pack for my Nintendo 64 some years back, and you should expect $83 just for that little tiny thing. That being said, once you have it, you have it. Okay, so just take that for what it's worth. There are some price tags attached to it, and it's not terrible. Okay, it's not hopeless. Game Boys and Game Boy Colors. Now this is one that I modded myself for the LCD screen. So, like, if you want it to look like the original, I think that. Whoop. So if you want it to look like stock screen, that's what it's going to look like. But like, I keep it on this, the lowest LCD screen. And of course, I've got it modded for like different colors. So if I wanted to play with a certain filter or something, that'd be fine. But by and large, easy to get hold of. Those you can expect anywhere between $75 to $100. If you want to get the mod kits typically are going to be like $60. So without a mod kit for a Game Boy, and I recommend a Game Boy Color, not a Game Boy, because Game Boy Color is backwards compatible anyway. You get more games with it. And you can mod original Game Boys. It's just that typically, look, I took a look into it one time because I was curious. The Game Boy was released, I want to say, I was born on July the 29th, 1989. I think the original Game Boy was released on like the 31st. I think I'm 2 days older than the Game Boy. I just celebrated my 37th birthday, which means the Game Boy just celebrated its. I'm sure my insides don't look that great, so I'm sure the insides of that Game Boy is probably going to look terrible. So you should expect to do a lot of deep cleaning. I mean, taking it apart, soaking the shells, using plenty of rubbing alcohol, all that. Like, expect corrosion, perhaps replacement of certain soldering points. Get that ready. I'm just saying expect it. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying expect it. That's why you should probably go with a Game Boy Color. Those are usually going to be pretty well. Look, I took this apart after I ordered it just in case to make sure that it had been truly refurbished, like cleaned inside and out, and it was clean. And because I was going to be modding it anyway, replacing the screen with a mod. So it was clean. It was exactly as advertised, and I was very pleased. The cool part is, for the most part, because a lot of people get worried about save batteries, don't worry about it too much. I'm just saying, dude, I bought this off of, he is like 5 or 6 years older than me, which means he was born in either 84 or 83, and this is literally his childhood cartridge. And I asked him, texted him one day, I was like, did you ever replace the battery in it? No, it's the same. This is a 40-year-old battery, and it's still ticking. It's still holding the save. Okay? So I'm just putting it out there. So don't be worried about that. Worry about the hardware, and worry about getting a hold of the cartridges first. Replacement and extra peripherals and stuff like that you can take care of after the fact. The point being, you want to get it. Now, if you want to get back into it, but you don't want to spend even the money that I just named off to you. Let's say it's cheap, you just want to pay one thing, try to get a bundle. Not likely to happen, going to be very rare. Let me know if you have that happen, because you're a lucky one. That being said, if you're open to emulation, that's where most of your options are. So, and I understand there's nothing like popping in this and oh shucks, it's not. Boy, I dated a lot of people there, didn't I? But anyways, I get it. I do. I understand. That being said, if all you care about is actually playing the game rather than the experience, the atmosphere that was involved with playing the game, emulation is probably going to be your best option. It's going to be your cheapest, certainly. So, and you can either do it on a PC, you can buy an emulation console. I have a Miu Mini Plus. It works great. Literally any game I want, I could have on it. That being said, like, it was just something for me to monkey around with. because there's some ROM hacks for some of these games that's available online. You know, like that patch things and add different things to it, and like the ROM hack community is awesome. Oh, you find some pretty fun little games attached to it. So I mean, I'm just saying if that's, I'm just listing options. So if it's not what you want to consider, okay, that's fine. I'm just saying that, be that as it may, even if we gatekeep the right people and we get these maniacs out of this niche hobby of ours, number one, it's not going to be as cheap as it has been. The price will probably come back down, certainly, but don't expect 2010 numbers. I think the pricing has been damaged too much. Inflation happened too, so there's that to keep in mind. That's what was frustrating to me because I knew, like, well, inflation happened, but it didn't happen that much. Why in the world is this so expensive? I've looked into it and I was like, oh, of course, because these basement dwellers that collect and just throw things on a shelf because they think they're going to be billionaires one day. That's why. Um, I'm here to tell you that if you're somebody that is interested in that, because the same people that think that Elon Musk has like trillions of dollars just laying around his house, he doesn't. And these people that buy these things, they don't either. Okay, so let me explain it to you because I've seen a video by the fat electrician. That was a very good one. Somebody comes up to you, says, I'm going to pay you $1 million for 1/1000th of your house. We don't have to speak. You still own your home. The majority of your home, you could still live there, do all this and that and everything else. But I'm going to pay you $1 million so that I can own 1/1000th of your home. And you do so, the transfer goes through. Okay, fine, whatever. Yip-de-yip. Everybody's happy. Time goes on. Yeah, and everybody looks at it. Is your house truly worth $1 million? No. On paper it is, but it's not truly worth $1 million. Are you going to sell it for $1 million? No, you're not. Just like a lot of these people. $600,000. It still blows my mind. That is so dumb. And I'm sorry, I will mock people like that. There's nothing to respect about that. I can understand paying for something that I had this when I was a kid. I'm not going to get rid of it. I just want it. Okay, fine. Totally fine. But these people have treated it. You're in the wrong hobby to get rich quick. Okay? That's just the way it is. Okay? So, anyways, hopefully it wasn't totally doom and gloom, and hopefully a lot of this made sense for people. But it's fun to bring this stuff out and actually talk about it. But as always, guys, take care. God bless. See you on the other side. Time to crawl back into the basements.